And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Monday, November 11th. Happy Veterans Day. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat to help create any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. I will acknowledge it. It just makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to recap last night's game between the Lions and the Texans. Lions pulling off the comeback win against the Texans, a game-winning field goal by Jake Bates. We'll get into that. We'll also get into talking about Dak Prescott likely being ruled out for the season. He's going to undergo surgery on the partially torn hamstring, so we'll get into that. We'll also talk about the Cowboys and their game against the Eagles. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about the Steelers and their win against the Commanders to improve to 7-2 on the season. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into talking about the Niners and their win over the Buccaneers. We'll talk about Christian McCaffrey and his season debut. Niners winning against the Bucs 23-20. And then we will talk about tonight's game. We'll preview that between the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Rams. So with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Lions-Texans game. So it was an interesting game. The Texans were still shorthanded. Nico Collins was a game-time decision, but he ended up not playing in this game. And I thought because of that, and just how the Lions were playing, I thought the Lions were going to win this game pretty easily, but that was not the case. The Texans, they were up by as much as 23-7, and it looked like it was going to be a rout. But the Lions shut the Texans out in the second half, and they were able to come back. And Jared Goff had 5 interceptions in this game. 5. And they still won the game. And that just shows you how good of a football team this is, that they're able to overcome things like that. But let's kind of go through the drive summary. So actually, the Lions got the ball to start the game, and they were at the Detroit 41, and Goff threw a pick. He was trying to hit Jahmyr Gibbs. So then the Texans turned that into 7. Joe Mixon from 8 yards out. And the Lions actually did a good job at stopping the run in this game, which has been a strength of the team. But Mixon made some plays and, of course, scored a touchdown here. He had another play for a big gain, and that was a pass play. But, yeah, the Lions on their second possession, they punted. And then, so this was the play here. This was 2nd and 8. C.J.Stroud connected with Joe Mixon for a 36-yard gain, and they ended up kicking a field goal. Kymie Fairbairn, a 34-yarder, so that made it 10-0. But then the Lions answered, put together a good drive. They went 11 plays, 70 yards, and Goff connected with Sam Laporta, who got hurt in this game, for a 20-yard touchdown. Then in the second quarter, Texans kicked another field goal to make it 13-7, a 56-yarder by Kymie Fairbairn. Then Goff threw another pick. Was trying to hit Laporta, and he ended up getting intercepted. And the Texans turned that into a field goal. Fairbairn from 29 yards out. More punts. And then the Texans, they scored another touchdown, and that was to John Mechie, a 15-yard touchdown, so that made it 23-7. And then Goff threw another pick. So that was at the end of the half. But then C.J.Stroud opened up the second half with an interception, and the Lions did nothing with it because then Goff threw another interception. So, and as my camera starts to act up here. But, I'm just surprised that, Goff threw 5 picks in this game. You don't really expect that from him, but it's what ended up happening. But we continue on, and the Texans punted. The Lions finally scored a touchdown. This was a David Montgomery touchdown from 3 yards out. That was set up by a 37-yard pass play to Sam Laporta. So, but yeah, that got them within 10 or down by 10, and then they went for 2 and didn't get it. So still a 10-point game. And then C.J.Stroud threw another pick, and then Goff threw another pick. Stroud actually, he finished with, I think he had 2, right? Yeah, he had 2 interceptions. He could have had 3. Later in the game, he should have got picked. But more punts. Then we went to the fourth quarter. Lions did put together a touchdown drive. He had 17 yards to Jameson Williams, 24 yards to Montgomery, and then Goff connected with AmonRaSt.Brown for a 9-yard touchdown. The Texans then punted, and then Jake Bates was the hero late, kicked a 58-yarder, and it was both field goals, even the game winner. They were so close, so close. It's not even like he kicked them right down the middle. They were as close as they could be, but he made both of them. He made a 58-yarder, and then Fairbairn was trying to kick a field goal late. This was a 58-yard attempt, and he ended up missing that. Lions got into his range. It was a 52-yarder, and that one, again, very close to missing that, but it ends up going in, and the Lions win 26-23. And again, despite Jared Goff and the turnovers, this team still ended up winning the game, and you got to give them credit. They still only have one loss on the season, and yeah, I mean, Goff finished with 240 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs was their leading rusher, 71 yards on the ground. Montgomery only had 32 yards on the ground, but he had a touchdown. Sam Laporta had 3 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. AmonRaSt.Brown had 6 for 60 and a touchdown. Lions defense, 4 sacks in the game of C.J. Stroud. And then as for C.J. Stroud, he had 232 yards passing. He went 19 of 33, 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. Joe Mixon had 46 yards on the ground and a touchdown. John Mechie was their leading receiver, had a touchdown in this game, 5 receptions for 74 yards. Dalton Schultz, 3 for 66. Joe Mixon, 2 for 44. And for the Texans defense, they did not sack Jared Goff. But Goff had 5 picks, like I said. But the Lions are 8-1. They just continue to win. And they take on the Jaguars next week. They take on the Colts the week after that. There are some tough games on the schedule, but, I mean, this team is definitely looking at 13 wins, 12, 13 wins right now. And right now they got home field advantage, so they continue to roll. For the Texans, they have now dropped 2 straight. I mean, to choke a big lead like that, it's not a good look. But they should be getting Nico Collins back, so that at least will help. But, you thought they had this win. And it just, I mean, once it was 23-7, you thought, well, I mean, the Lions were due to lose a tough game, but they didn't. They battled. Like I said, they shut them out in the second half. So, and I finally, nope. I thought I finally got my camera to work, but I guess not. I guess today's just not my day when it comes to my camera. But anyways, you thought the Texans were going to hold on to this lead. You're at home, but they didn't. Again, I can't say enough how good of a football team this is that they still were able to overcome it. So, the Texans, I mean, they're going to be fine. I mean, they're going to win the division. I mean, I don't see them not winning the division. The Colts lost yesterday. The Jaguars lost. I mean, well, the Jaguars and the Titans have been out of it. The Colts at least are, a little bit closer to them. But, yeah, I mean, the Texans are still going to win this division. Man, camera just does not want to help me out today. I don't know what's going on. Let's see if it's going to work now. Nope, now it just shuts off. Okay. So, apologize for the technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. Usually I figure it out by now, but I don't really know what's going on. And then my microphone just cut out for some reason. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, no, but let me know what you guys think though about this game. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. Again, it was an entertaining game. It was an entertaining game. I really only got to watch the first half, because I was out, or the second half, I meant to say. But I mean, those Jake Bates field goals. Listen, UFL legend Jake Bates. Let's not forget. Um, and the Lions, they had some issues with their kicker last year. They had of course, the Money Badger kicking field goals for them, but he got hurt because I think he was originally supposed to be their kicker to start off the year. But yeah, no, those were two big kicks, and they were very close to being misses, but they somehow stayed within the uprights, and yeah, that was big for the Lions. So yeah, no, they improved to 8-1 on the season, and if it wasn't for the Chiefs, they would have the best record in the NFL, but um, the Chiefs, they won on a blocked field goal. They blocked a Will Lutz field goal to win the game. So that final score was 16-14, and we'll talk about that at some point this week. But yeah, no, they continue to find ways to win. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think though about this game though. Anyways, so we're gonna take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we will talk about. We will get into talking about Dak Prescott being ruled out for the year, likely undergoing season-ending surgery on his partially torn hamstring. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Cowboys and their loss to the Eagles, and just where they go from here, because we still got some games to be played, and their season is essentially over. So we'll get into all that when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.